peace with yourself. Learn to respect yourself. Trust yourself. Like yourself. Ralph Waldo Emerson said that we should learn to detect that gleam of light which flashes across the mind from within. Do not dismiss your own ideas simply because they're your own. Trust yourself.
Wow.
Isn't that wonderful, Don?
Wonderful.
Welcome back to Open Up. I'm Tina Miller, and we're talking with Gene Greisman. He is a Lincoln scholar whose personal portrayals of Lincoln have brought him national fame. His book, The Achievement Factors, was the winner of the 1991 Benjamin Franklin Award.
Oh, my word.
Welcome back, Gene.
Gene, you are a national resource. We are so proud to have you on the air. I wanted to ask you, it's been said that Lincoln's extraordinary eloquence and a way to use and arrange words came primarily from his close study of the King James Version of the Bible and Shakespeare. Can you confirm that?
That is absolutely true. He memorized long segments of the King James Version of the Bible, Shakespeare, Bobby Burns. He also, as a part of his early education, and was part of education in those days, would read speeches and letters by famous people. There are several things that contributed to his success. He certainly did that memorization. Also, when lawyers would come to town and would plead cases in courthouses, he would go down and listen to them. He was a member of a debating society in New Salem, Illinois. He got, and I think one thing that made him a very good speaker was not just the practice and the guidance, but I think he had a good deal of self-confidence. What you were playing, I think, is an excerpt from my performance at the Georgia Dome before about 25,000 people a while back. Incidentally, if your listeners want to view that, they can go to my website, which is www.presidentlincoln.com, presidentlincoln.com, and there's streaming video there, so they can watch excerpts from that performance.
What a resource. Gene, your voice is just a little soft. Could you get right close to your speaker there?
Yes,
we need a little more volume.
Oh, that's okay.
Well, every once in a while when I get talking about Abraham Lincoln, I get carried away. So
that's
sorry
better.
about that.
I do want to. There was one quote that's always impressed me. Tell me if it's authentic or not. It goes something like, I have often been driven to my knees in prayer by the overwhelming conviction there was no place else to go. My own wisdom and that of those all about me was insufficient for the day. Does that ring a bell?
That does ring a bell. There are some people who said he never said it. There are some people who said it did. It's not one that can be readily dismissed as either authentic, dismissed as inauthentic, or accepted as authentic. It's one of those that we think he may have said, but he did not say it at a big public gathering. It was a recollection years later by someone who said he said that.
You know, Gene, Lincoln's self-affirmation that you were referring to and encouraging others to do the same, it said that both Lincoln and Washington were both very clear about in their desire to win the esteem of their fellow man. They were very open about that, and they wanted to live lives that would bring that kind of esteem to them. And lacking that, they had their own self-esteem in strong measure. Talk about that.
You are exactly right. As a matter of fact, Lincoln, because I can already tell you know a great deal about it, had bouts of depression. And he confided to Joshua Speed, a good friend of his, in his middle years. He said, "I'm afraid that if I would die now, that I would have done nothing that would have benefited mankind." And fast forward, Lincoln has just signed the Emancipation Proclamation. And he writes a letter after doing that to Joshua Speed. He said, "You'll recall I said," and he quotes what he said years ago, he said, "Today I think I may finally have done something that would redound to the benefit of mankind.
Wow. Wow. Gene, I wanted to ask you, remind me the name of Lincoln's first true love.
Oh, it was Anne Rutledge.
Anne Rutledge. And when she died, they were soulmates. He loved her with all his heart. He cast himself down on her grave and wept and had virtually a nervous breakdown. I want to try a theory out on you that if he'd married Anne Rutledge, he would have had the love of his life, but he married Mary Todd.
Yes.
And it just seemed to me that in just living with Mary Todd and the patience it required kind of prepared his soul for the patience he needed to get through the Civil War. Is that a stretch, or what do you think?
Yeah, I would agree. As a matter of fact, I've worked into my one-man plays that if I had married Anne Rutledge, I would doubtless have been a happier man.
Oh.
And I almost certainly would not have become president of the United States.
Wow.
The truth is that when he rode the judicial circuit, and this is historic record, on weekends, many of the other lawyers would go home to spend time with their wives. And so Lincoln often did not do that. He preferred just to stay on the road. And one of his good friends said, if Lincoln had had a happier marriage, and I'm paraphrasing it, he would not have become a public man.
Wow.
And so the fact that he did not have a happy marriage in many ways drove him to other achievements. Mm-hmm. Now, it is also true that Mary was ambitious, and she saw in him the potential to become president, I think, before he did.
Mm-hmm.
Very interesting.
So challenges in a person's life can really build them or prepare them for something great, huh?
Well, certainly. Disappointments. Well, the cliche that when one door closes, another opens, and very often the disappointments and the setbacks open up an opportunity for something else. Lincoln had his share of setbacks, as you know.
Yes.
Gene, have you ever speculated what Lincoln would have done after the presidency?
He talked about it. He planned to go back to Illinois and resume his practice of law. And you're going to like this. That last day when he took a carriage ride with Mary down by Rock Creek, he's assassinated that evening. They talk about their plans. And he says, I'm going to buy a plot of ground for my son, Thad, who had a learning disability, by the way. And I'm going to buy him a mule and a pony. He'll have a patch of ground all his own. And he said, then I want to visit California. I don't know if you knew that or not, but his last day expressed a wish to go to California. And then he said, I'd like, perhaps we could go to the Holy Land as well. So he planned to travel. He planned to resume his practice of law.
Wow, wow.
Wow. Well, in your book, The Words Lincoln Lived By, I've really been enjoying that. Can you talk to us about the quote of trust? We've got just about a minute or so left, but
I'm afraid you're going to have to read that one to me. If you'll start it, I'll probably be able to finish it or comment.
On trust, it says, let me see which one it says. He says, I expect the people to sustain me. They have never yet forsaken any true man.
Wow.
He had a great belief in the people. He felt that if the people had information before them and they had a chance to decide and could ponder it, he felt they would make the right decision. He had great faith in the people.
And yet, Gene, in his own lifetime, he was reviled by so many people.
Yes, but he was reviled by many people, yet he managed to get elected twice. So there were some who loved him. You see, I think that's the paradox. Mm-hmm. He was loved greatly and hated greatly.
Yes. Okay, Gene, we have 30 seconds left to close out, but this has been so wonderful. You're welcome back on the show anytime.
Well, it's nice to be welcomed, And I would paraphrase Lincoln, who said, he said, your praise is enough to satisfy a vain man. And so
God bless,
am deeply
Gene, and
grateful.
thank you all for watching. Have a great week,
Thank you,
everybody.
Gene.